Good morning, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for attending Healthy Living today. I am Nina Barnett, Public Relations and Foundation Coordinator for McKenzie Health System. I'll be host for the presentation today. I do want to go through a few things with you, just so you're aware. Housekeeping today will let you know that your audio is automatically muted. You will have a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. You can just type any questions in there throughout the presentation, and we'll go ahead and answer them after Ms. Kramers has an opportunity to tell us all the great things that she has. And then also we'll do a quick recording of this, and we'll send it out in an email to everyone that had registered. So you'll be able to see that there, as well as the McKenzie YouTube channel has them. Next, we will go ahead and talk a little bit about organizing tips and tricks with Connie Kramer from Integrit Cleaning and Organizing. I think I said Integrit wrong. So Connie, if you could correct me on that, that'd be great.
Integrit or Integrit is fine.
Okay.
We say a little spin on the grit part of that, but it implies our hope and effort that first and foremost that our business is prefaced by integrity.
Oh, lovely.
So
I like that. So if you'd like to go ahead and get started, I'd be happy to turn it over to you. Thank you.
well, thank you. Thank you, Nina, for having me. This is the second time I've been able to visit with you through your media presentation here, and I want you to know that we appreciate it. We truly believe here, wholeheartedly, our staff believes in making lives better for people. And we always say that nobody calls us because their life is perfect. They call us because they need help with something. And we empathize with it. We live in the real world too, so we understand. So my goal today was to help people with a little bit of the things that you run into when you are starting to think about fall and the holiday season. And the weather the last few days has certainly kind of reminded us that it's here before you know it. So I'm going to do a few general tips that might help people with some of the things that you can or normally encounter. And the first thing I'm going to tell you about is with the cold weather, along comes everything that's trying to get into your house. So we're going to talk a little bit about pests first. And the mice will try to get in your home, and spiders and bugs will try to get in your home, and they're simply doing what, Mother Nature intended them to do to survive. But we don't want them in our homes, of course, because in the case of like mice in your home, the pathogens that they carry can be up to or even be more than 16 different pathogens alone in mice. And a lot of those are parasitic. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about mice is that you want to not only eradicate them in your home right away, but you also want to prevent them from coming in. So from the very start, you need to look at entry points. And an entry point can be as small as maybe some little hole around your venting for your dryer, or maybe where pipes come in or out of the home, maybe a little gap underneath your garage door, any kind of entry points where there's a tiny, tiny crack can be an invitation for a mouse to get in your home. And they're very prolific, and they always come with their girlfriends, it seems. So it's time to get rid of them. So steel wool around areas that are little holes, pipes. A lot of times they'll gain entry point into like a garage or a basement, and then they'll use the pipe system in your home to get up into your bathrooms, or their favorite place, of course, the kitchen. So steel wool around any kind of little tiny spots around your pipes going up and down your home. Get some steel wool around there. And then there's a difference between a bait killer and a preventative maintenance or a retardant or repellent. So a bait is going to naturally, they're going to seek because of the aroma associated with it, or like grains. I have to tell you a quick story. We had one lady who called us. She had never ever had mice in her home before, and we went in and we cleaned her attic, and we knew that the source point was the attic. So somehow they were getting into the attic. But what they were doing in the attic was they were having a heck of a good time, because during the fall season, she had bought some really nice Indian corn, and with ribbons on them, and she put them in her attic to save them for the next year. And there was literally no corn kernels left on the Indian corn. It was like just the cobs. And so they were corn-fed mice. I'm sure they were fat and happy. So, my first caution is be aware of where you're storing things and how you're storing things. And in the case of like decorations like Indian corn or gourds or something like that, I would not even bring those into the home after the season. I would leave them outside to feed the little critters out there. Remember, like with pumpkins and gourds and things, birds will eat them. Squirrels will eat them. If you have chickens will eat them. So those are the places I would put those kind of treats, away from the home. So we were able to clean it up for the lady, able to identify, the source point and everything. There's no, there is, some people, they're a little more humane and they want to trap the mouse and let the mouse go. I guarantee you the mouse will find his way back because of their pheromone trail. And if you look sometimes in your home, if you have a mouse problem, they like to stick to the edges and the corners of your home, and they will actually rub along the wall in the home, and you'll actually see like a little not very high off the floor, or if they're going up and over boxes or something like that, you can actually see the mouse trail by what's residually left on the wall. And what that actually is the oils that come off of the fur of the mouse. And so what it does is it makes the path for them to find their way back, but it also leads a path for down the road. And if you don't eradicate that completely from your walls, you've left the path for, generations of mice to come. The average litter size of a mouse can be anything from 6 to 12 little baby mice in a one batch. And they don't stick to the spring for having their kids. Okay. It is like a year-round adventure. And so it doesn't take long for a few mice. And there's the common house mouse, and then there's the country mouse or the field mouse. They have a white tummy. It doesn't matter. A mouse is a mouse, and they don't belong in your house. So when you're looking at even like, and this can be part of your putting your camper away for the season as well. When you're looking at getting rid of mice or making your home less attractive to mice, not only do you want to use that steel wool to punch into all those little holes and things, but you also want to do something with a residual retardant. There are these things that you can plug into your home in the electrical outlet, and sometimes those really work good. There's a little bit of just a little bit of a wave that they put out. Some people have luck with those and some people don't. There's also some really good retardants that are on the market. You can pick them up through any of the local, like Walmart or Amazon, whatever, but they are, a lot of times they're peppermint in nature, and they'll have a carrier. So you put these packets around and they don't like the smell of that strong peppermint. The life range on them is usually no more than 3 months. So sometimes you have to, what we advise is making a list of where you put them so that you can put out more. And that is, again, that is not a mouse killer. That is something that keeps the mouse out of your house. So the array of actual bait products out there is huge. I'm a big fan of if you have pets in the home, putting the little boxes out that take the block of bait, the mouse can't carry it off. We've already used the marble style, and we'll actually find those marbles like a long way away from where we put them out. Mice will actually carry them back to their nests. But you also have to be careful if you have a cat or a dog in the house, because you don't want them to have the opportunity to inadvertently eat one of them, because it will kill them. The bait block packs, where you can get a little plastic thing that puts the bait block in, is a really good tool and effective. And you want to set them out preemptively. So you don't want to wait till you have a problem before you start solving it. Because remember, again, the pathogens that the mice carry into the home, they leave those little droppings everywhere, and those pathogens are of a concern. So the other thing you can use.
Hey, Connie,
Yes,
if I can interrupt, we had a real quick question about the peppermint.
yes,
They put peppermint oil on cotton balls. Can you
yes.
get that out?
You can. Here's my only concern about when you're using a peppermint repellent, okay? You can use the cotton ball thing. I would say that it's going to dissipate a little quicker because it's not as concentrated, or it lends itself to being dried out more from just being in the air, okay? But what you want to do is make sure that you're not going to have the residual oil from the peppermint oil, and that's what you want to use, is peppermint oil. You want to put that on something. So let's say that you have a really nice hardwood floor, and you're going to put a bait repellent or a repellent out in a corner of the floor. I would not put it on. I would buy some like wax coated paper plates, or the small plastic plates, and I'd put it on that, just because you don't want it to seep into or wreck what you might have there. So for example, if you want to put some underneath a bathroom sink or a kitchen sink, I would get a small, like dessert size plastic plate, and I would put them on that, just so that you have a little bit of a barrier. Because I am not sure, there's no disclaimer that comes on the package, but I am not sure what that residual oil would do if it's sitting there for a while on a more sensitive kind of surface. So that would be my recommendation. But yes, peppermint oil on a cotton ball is one of the things you can do. I just don't think it lasts very long. So you can, some people have used old socks. They've put like a cotton quilt batting or cotton balls inside the old socks, saturated the old sock with peppermint oil, or the cotton balls inside of it. And it's basically the same thing. And you can tie a couple of those old socks together and put them over the pipe underneath a sink or something, and that will work too. And then you just pitch them, or I don't know about you, but my dryer eats socks, or my washer eats socks every once in a while, and you end up with those Lone Rangers. So it'd be a good way to use them up, to tell you the truth. The other thing about the peppermint oil too is that kind of goes hand in hand with retarding the growth of moths, spiders, or other bugs around your house as well. So it doesn't just work on the mice. It's a good pesticide, if you will, for about anything you want to use it on, related to little legged creatures like that. So I would say you can't go wrong with it. And if you don't have, if you don't see any live action, well, then that means maybe it's working. So, but I would do a two-pronged effort with any kind of I would use a bait and a repellent, just to make sure. And bait blocks out in your garage, near your garage door. You can even buy the special bait block plastic containers that would go outside around your home. They're a little bit bigger, but they work the same way. So you can at least keep the little critters out. Now, let me explain something about cleaning up mouse droppings, okay? Again, I remind you that these droppings have up to or over 16 different pathogens in them. You don't want to vacuum those, because what can happen if you vacuum them is, because of the vacuum system, they're so microscopic, they can become aerated. Then you breathe them in. Some of those pathogens are actually like parasitic in nature, so you don't want to breathe those in. The way to get rid of mouse droppings is that you take something like Windex spray, or like a all-purpose spray cleaner, and you spray the mouse droppings, and then you wipe them up with a paper towel and you throw the paper towel away. Okay, don't vacuum them. You sometimes have to get down on your hands and knees, but you always want to wet them first. And I like to use something like a multi-purpose spray, or the Windex spray, something like that, to wet them, because you're already got a head start then on cleaning up behind them a little bit. I want to especially caution families of senior citizens. We've gone into quite a few homes where it's a natural thing, where you're older, your smell and taste and your senses like that are just a little bit depleted, and maybe you can't see as well as you once did. We find quite a few senior homes with mice droppings in their bread cupboards, or around their dishes, in their silverware drawers. And a lot of times I believe it's because they just can't see them as well. And we're not, there might be a drop of food that you don't pick up quite as fast, or something like that. The kitchen is probably the best place for a mouse to live when you really think about it. We've got the warmth of a stove, the warmth of a running refrigerator. Those make for a nice place to hide, and they can just crawl anywhere. So when we cleaned out, and it wasn't that long ago, a senior citizen home, the amount of mouse droppings in the silverware drawer was alarming. So I encourage everyone, if you have a seniors, to check on them and make sure that their home is eradicated of any kind of mice or pests like that, because I really don't think in some cases they can see them very well. And they're small, and until you have a lot of them, it's like, oh, you don't even recognize it. The other thing is adequate storage place, and making sure. We had a customer not long ago who had a really, really bad infiltration of mealy moths, or mealy moths. Food moths, if you will. Sometimes they come in bags of dog food. Sometimes they can come in as simple as, pancake mix. And it's amazing that sometimes you can have something totally unopened in your pantry, and there'll be little tiny dot holes, and you'll end up with these mealy moths in there. And they have a webbing effect, and they're real tough to get rid of, because you basically have to throw away everything in your pantry or your cabinet. There is a really good moth. It's the same thing. It's a sticky trap style pheromone capture system, and it's also a really good deterrent, or I should say a really good advisor to you if you put those out in your food cabinets to keep an eye on if you do bring something home. The other thing is, if you do bring pet food home, like dry dog food or dry cat food, I like to put it in a plastic bin right away and get rid of the packaging, because a lot of times it's the packaging that can carry or be the host for the eggs or larval stage of these critters. And if you do that, then you're at least, out the door with that package, and you're not bringing something in there. And then, of course, keeping an eye on it in your plastic tubs. But the mealy moth or kitchen moth, the little sticky traps that you can get at the hardware store or, your local store, they really do work well. But the best thing about them is that they are an alert for you, that if you even have them. So not that, you're going to die if you eat something like that. It's just kind of a yuck. The ick feeling, as they say, is kind of there, and you don't want to use anything. But it's also a good thing for you to then check the expiration dates on your food. And that kind of leads into the next thing. So we're kind of talking about the pests, and we've talked about checking your expiration dates on your food. The biggest thing is food isn't cheap. Okay, where everybody's under the crunch right now that your systems, your food care systems at home have to be kind of optimal, because it's a grocery trip to the store isn't as much fun as it was a few years ago. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to care for those things. And when you bring your food home, remember how some people were actually wiping off their food containers during COVID? And they were actually using like a disinfectant spray, like a bleach spray or something on a cloth and wiping it off. In all honesty, that's not a bad idea, because if there were any pests on the outside of that packaging, then you can get rid of it. The other good idea is if you have a system in your cabinets of food storage, there's nothing better than putting it into a plastic airtight sealed container, and then checking, we'll write right on, take a permanent marker and write an expiration date right on a can of food or on the outside of a package, so that you can do your own rotating at home to make sure you keep your staples kind of up to date. But when you wipe things off, when you bring it home from the grocery store, then whoever handled it before you, with their hands, that's not an issue anymore. And then if there are any residual pests on them, then, most of our stores do fantastic jobs keeping these things under control, but it doesn't hurt for us to do a little due diligence at home with it too. So if you're looking to save money on your grocery bill, and if you're looking to be a force of economy with what you're bringing home, then having a list of what you really need, an ongoing list of what you need, is important. And I'm going to tell you that if anybody would like, we have a menu. You can't go wrong with the menu, because even if you make up a weekly menu, and it takes a little bit of time, but if you make up a weekly menu, and let's say that you had something planned for Thursday evening, and you ended up going out with your buddies on Thursday evening, so you didn't really need, you still have that kind of organized in your home, and you can move it to the next week. We have available for anybody who wants them, and they're free of charge, menu planner sheets that have a little spot for the grocery, what you need from the grocery item over here. Let's say you're planning for, you're going to have an early Thanksgiving and you want to put some things down, pre-plan for it. But having a menu can save you a lot of money. And always, I don't know about some folks, but I love to have leftovers for the next day's lunch. It seems like it's a good way to save money. The other thing is, in my opinion, your best friend in the kitchen during the fall and winter season, I'm going to tell you, it's the crock pot. And putting meals into the crock pot, you can buy a bigger roast at the store, so you're going to save money because those larger cuts are more economically priced. And it's easier for the people at the store to wrap something once rather than cut it up in pieces and then wrap. So you're going to get a better bang for your buck by having a larger roast. And let's say that you buy a pork roast and you put it in your crock pot. Just think of the meals that you can get from that, or a beef roast, or even a whole chicken. And everything from, having a meal with mashed potatoes, or maybe pasta or something with it, all the way down to tacos in the end, chicken, pork, or beef tacos, or soups. It makes sense to do that, and you can plan out a whole week's menu. Plus, you have the option. There's so many cool little plastic containers out now where you can freeze things in portion sizes and pull them out the next week for your lunch or whatever you need to use. So saving money by using your crock pot. But just think, the smell when you walk in the door, that's like $1 million right there, because it's like, oh, it just smells good. It smells like home. And it's like, oh, there's something about the fall season that just makes you want to create your little nest and make your home smell good with not only like the pumpkin and apple pie flavorings out there, but a good beef roast in the crock pot. So, but when you use your crock pot, I gotta tell you, I'm kind of spoiled by these crock pot liners, and it sure does make the cleanup a lot easier. So I recommend the crock pot liners, and then throwing your stuff in there in the morning and coming home to a great din in the evening, and your work is all done. So, but putting together a menu first helps you plan for those kinds of things. And if you need a menu sheet, you can send an email to Melissa at our office, and her email is integrit@integritcleaning.com. And she'll be happy to send you out a copy of a menu sheet. The other thing, let's move a little bit away from the kitchen and go into the living room. 'Tis the season for decorating a little bit. My recommendation is, depending on how many grandkids you have or kids you have, if decorating is your thing for the fall, Halloween, Thanksgiving kind of scene, by all means go for it. But think about, what do you really need to keep and carry over for the next year? And it might be a good time for you to donate what you really don't use anymore, or toss out if something's ripped or broken or not as nice, or donate it. One of the wonderful things we have in our thumb area is we have a really good selection of 501c3 donation centers. And by helping them to have things for other people, I think it's a great way to share what you don't need anymore, whether it be decorator items or even or even things like clothing you don't need anymore. So it's when we think about the living room and the fall and winter season approaching, I want you to think about what you put out there that holds dust. Anything that's fabric or fiber has a tendency to hold dust more. So, maybe you have a wreath on a wall or a decoration on the wall that has fiber in it, silk flowers, dried flowers, things like that. Those are where allergens start. So if you're looking to eradicate some of the allergen kind of avoidance, of allergy type things in your home, you want to take a critical look at your what you're bringing in as far as dust. The furnace is going to run, so of course you want to check the or change out the filter in your furnace, but you also might want to consider an air purifier. And then, of course, set your reminder on your phone or put it on your calendar to check when those filters need to be changed or washed off and such. A really good thing about the air purifiers in the home is, if you do have allergies and pet dander, it's a way to keep on top of it a little bit better. And I'll tell you, if you do have the opportunity to have a robot vacuum, it saves a lot of your work, and that spin that thing will take around your home in the day to pick up pet hair or any kind of dust that floats around. You can have the cleanest home there is, but you're still going to have dust, and it creeps in anywhere. And then a reminder to every once in a while, vacuum off your furniture, especially down in the cracks and crevices. And a lot of people don't know, but a lot of lazy boy chairs, or the version of, have what we call the back door. There's a flap on the back door of your couch or your lazy boy that you can lift up and vacuum down in there. And you'll be surprised at what get the pennies and quarters out first, but you'll be surprised at what gets down there. Little popcorn hulls or pieces of chips, or just plain some dust. And of course, the missing game piece that you were looking for. But that is a That is something that a lot of people don't even know, that there's a Velcro back door that you can just lift it up and vacuum underneath there. When we go out on jobs, we will actually flip furniture over and vacuum the underside of it. So if there was any spider webs or anything like that, you can get that out of there too. When I was talking about pest things earlier, one of the things that people do like to use for pest control too, or retardant, is like fabric softener sheets. And those are good. And you can put a couple of those underneath that trap door in your couch or in your chair. And it just puts a nice smell out. Some people get bothered by the smell, but it's the smell that works to eliminate the spiders or the bugs, or like moths don't like them either, or, you know, the mice. So, and we want to create an inhospitable environment for those kind of pests. When it comes to, you know, if we move into the bedroom now, and it comes to kind of, again, we're thinking fall and winter. If you don't have a mattress protector on your bed, I'm going to suggest that. They make them now that it's like a giant envelope. You slide your mattress in. It takes a little fumbling around at first, but there's a zipper all the way around it. They're usually waterproof and bug proof, but it also eliminates dust mites to a degree on your mattress, which, if you have allergy issues, can be a cause for some unhealthy, you know, rooms, as far as like sleeping in that. We also suggest a good old-fashioned pillow protector. They used to always have pillow protectors on. Some of it was because there's a little bit more, especially in down pillows, a little bit more of an allergy issue. But the pillow protectors and then your pillowcase on top makes a big difference. And then set your robot vacuum to go in your bedroom too. The stick vacuums that are like Shark has a stick vacuum style. Those are great for reaching underneath your bed with minimal effort. They're really good. But if you have a hardwood floor, you can also use a good old Swiffer, and the Swiffer to reach underneath there. And it doesn't have to be done, you know, every week, but make a little cleaning checklist for yourself. And that, I don't know why, but under the bed is always a place for the dust bunnies to hide. And the other thing with your bedroom, shoe storage. If you're the kind of person who brings in, if you kick your shoes off at the door, now's the time to change out, you know, put your summer sandals and things away. I love clear totes because you can see what's in them. You can label them, but just the fact that you can see what's in them makes a big difference. But before you put the sandals in there or your summer shoe wear, wipe them off. Wipe them off on the soles especially, and clean off any dirt or debris that you may have in the treads. Tennis shoes can be washed, you know, sandals can be washed. Throw them in there after they're good and dry, and throw a couple of those fabric softener sheets in there too. And the same then goes for summer clothing. Sort out what's all you know, used up, worn out. Give it to the 501c3, and put your summer clothes away. You really would only have to pull it out if you're planning that nice Hawaii vacation in February, you know, but at least it would have you know, a spot for it to be in and not clutter up the rest of your bedroom. Now, there's a love-hate relationship with dressers, okay? Dressers and chest drawers. I don't know how many of you have run into the dresser drawer that's been left open, because it seems like it's just, you know, you gotta push it back shut. But there's something about having clothes put away in the dresser, out of sight, out of mind. Most of the places we go in and clean, I will tell you, they're not using their dresser drawers like you should. And we recommend, if you are one of the people out there who have trouble putting things away in the dresser, or, you know, the dresser drawer only holds so many hoodies or so many pairs of jeans, Why not just put a shelving unit up in your closet? A shelving unit is easier to stack your clothes on. It's easier for the bulky things. And if you have more than you really need, it's time to cut down on those too. So when we got called out to help a mom who was just so frustrated, her daughter had like wall-to-wall clothing instead of wall-to-wall carpeting. Okay. It didn't want to part with anything, loved all of her hoodies. So we have a suggested clothing inventory sheet. And if anybody wants a copy, you can email Melissa for that too, and she'll send it out to you. But a suggested clothing inventory sheet helps you to realize that do you really have more than you need? If you really have more than you need, then maybe put some away in a box for 3 or 6 months. And if you didn't really get into that box, maybe you don't need it. Again, I'm a big proponent of the clear plastic storage containers with a few fabric softener sheets in it to keep things fresh. You should never put away dirty clothes, though. You should always clean them prior. And then when it comes to the gal that had the daughter with all of the clothes, we use the suggested inventory clothing sheet to kind of get an idea of like, where are we at? This little gal had 46 hoodies. Okay. She loved every one of them. Okay. And it was a pretty tough day because we made her choose her favorite 15. So when you really think about it, that's still 2 weeks of hoodies to wear. So heaven forbid your washer went down. She still had 2 weeks worth of hoodies to wear. But when you're, a 7th grader and in love with your hoodies, that's a pretty tough thing. She was compensated by the fact that all of her hoodies were going to go to donation and actually help somebody else out. But the process for elimination was a pretty tough one to go through. But you can do that with your t-shirts, with your pants, with your jackets, scarves, you name it. You can go through the elimination process. The hard part is it's a seasonal kind of thing. You have to separate your clothes by the season too. And remember to use those clear storage bins and put things away. Like I have, so I have a horse. So I have horse riding clothes or barn clothes. And then, then there's the work clothes, and then there's the Sunday or good clothes. So sometimes, we get too much in a grouping. But if work is your main thing, every day you need your work clothes, you almost got to give priority to what you use the most. And a really good way to organize your work clothes and to help pre-plan yourself for the week is a coat rack, the pedestal coat rack. And you can take that pedestal coat rack, and this can be Monday's peg, this can be Tuesday's peg, and you can start lining up your clothes ahead of time. And it works really good for helping for kids. We had one home where we cut the pedestal coat rack down so that it was a height that the kids could handle. And that pedestal coat rack went right into their room for figuring out their clothes over the weekend for the next week of school. And it really helped. You can do the same method by using hooks on a wall. That works as well. But there's something about the kids being able to hang the hoodie by the hood or hang the pants by the belt loop, and drape the t-shirt over, whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, so you want to wear your football hoodie on Friday to the game. So you have that always on. That's the Friday hook or Friday peg. For moms, busy moms, it really helps because you don't have to fold these things and put them away to pull them back out. You've already got them on a peg so that they can be used for the next week. So that's a system that's helped a lot of people. The other thing with relation to outdoor clothing, whether it's barn or farm clothing, mechanic clothing, whatever, the closer you can hang those items up to the exit door, so you're not bringing in the dirt all the way into the house, will make your home cleaning a little bit easier. The other thing with that is that it's sometimes closer to the washing machine too, and it makes it easier. We have a couple folks who are using the peg style method with their work clothes, and they have a bathroom at the back end of their house with a shower. So that room also shares with the laundry room. And for some folks, a couple auto mechanics, their clothes go right into the washer when they get home. And then when they dry it, they hang on a peg. They're ready to go for them. So it makes it pretty simple. When you pre-plan like that, it takes the helter-skelter, hurry rush kind of out of your day. You know where it's at. You don't have to go looking for it and things like that. So what do they say? The old prior proper planning prevents poor performance thing. Well, in a perfect world, but if we can make it easier for us to even get started on it, it makes a big difference. Let me see on my list here. Just a little thing about back to food a little bit. Time of year where if you have a husband or someone or you are hunting deer and you get your deer processed, you should do a freezer inventory so that as you're planning for your food for the week that you can have a list of what you have left in your freezer. We recommend taping it right to your freezer and checking it off as you take whatever out that you're going to be using, whether it's vegetables or dessert or whatever. The only thing it doesn't work for is ice cream because you just need to refill on that all the time anyway. So, but those are the kind of some of the fall hints that we have. I don't know if you have any questions for me. You're
Sure.
welcome to ask.
So Connie, I do have a couple. First, I did want to tell everyone that I added that email into the chat so everyone
Okay.
can kind of go there and copy it so that they have it. I do have someone that is interested in knowing if your business works with insurance companies, especially for the elderly or disabled.
Boy, we get that question a lot, and I wish the answer was yes. I will tell you that we are state certified. We do go in certain situations where a caseworker is called in. And we've done quite a bit of that to help folks, disabled or elderly who need help. But you have to go through a caseworker first. And each county has a caseworker assigned through Health and Human Services. And I don't have any kind of a insurance. We've done restoration type work for, like if someone's dryer caught on fire or refrigerator fire or something like that, where we work with insurance companies through that. I wish there was more. Probably what happens more in the case of elderly or disabled is actual family members picking up the tab and getting in touch with us, and we go in and work with them from that measure. But if someone knows a senior or a disabled adult who needs some intervention, in all honesty, the best thing is to work with Health and Human Services, and they allow us a budget to go in and help people. Sometimes the budget doesn't allow us to do everything that person needs, and we try to do education with family members as well. In that whole department, I wish we could do more.
So is there something you can tell us about hoarding too? Is like there different kinds of hoarding or levels or something that...
Yes, there's a multitude of different levels of hoarding, and just because people have a lot of stuff doesn't necessarily mean that they're a hoarder. The two main types of hoarding are the collector hoarder, and then the hoarder who, the more serious one, in my opinion, is the hoarder who keeps everything, even if it's garbage. Our motto here at Integrit is "We clean for your good health." And so a true collector, the difference between a true collector hoarder and I'll say regular hoarder, is a collector hoarder has items that they perceive of value. The big difference in the collector hoarder division is that a true collector has their items inventoried. They know where everything is. They know the value of it. They belong to organizations or have knowledge of places or people who also collect the same things. So let me just throw something out there, for example. Let's say that you have Hummels, okay? And you collected Hummels. There would be Hummel groups and organizations that would purchase your Hummels from you or would collaborate with you, and you would have those as inventory. You would have it actually on a piece of paper written down and things put in certain areas. Okay. Let's say that you have matchbooks and beer steins and maybe ceramic pumpkins, and maybe you have certain tools or something that you like to, files, let's say files. You have a whole collection of files. If you have a wide variety of collections and the collections are not organized and are not inventoried, you might be on the verge of, of being a hoarder collector where it's a little bit out of control. The more serious hoarding, a lot of times signified by maybe there's no, it can even include no water or electricity in a home, broken plumbing. And the reason is because they don't want anyone in the home to see how bad it actually is. A lot of times those homes come with a little bit of a pet hoarding issue, which, too many cats or dogs. And then it gets to the point where the cats and dogs aren't taken care of like they're supposed to be either. And then you talk about flea infestation and things like that. All of those things come down to not living in a healthy environment because you can't clean and keep things upright. And then your food gets impacted from it. And I hate to say it, but you can't surprise us. We've been in all those types of situations. They are all precipitated by a mental health issue. And sometimes it is, they're dealing with sadness in some version, loss of a loved one, or a dynamic event that happened in their home and it's a PTSD related. So empathy is very much part of our work. And but the goal is that we have to help people reclaim their living and in a healthier environment so that they're not impacted. I mean, some of these people are very resilient with what they've lived with. It's amazing. But we want to make sure that we start over and really help them. We recognize that these are very valuable things to them, and to part with them is really stressful. It can put them into a panic mode. In some cases, it can threaten a heart attack because it is their life. But we need to address it more in the mental health world as well.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I had another question too about senior rehoming. Can you
Senior
kind of
rehoming.
explain that a little bit for me?
Sure. Senior rehoming, every day we get older, and it's not a fun subject in some cases to think about moving from your established home that you've been in for many, many years into something that's smaller, like assisted living or a senior apartment, or maybe even an apartment that's latched on to a son or daughter's home or something. Recently went to a home where they moved grandma. They took their garage, which was a 2-car garage, refurbished it and made it into grandma's apartment. So grandma still came and ate dinner with them. It was actually a really, really good thing for the family. And she could go home to her own space when the kids drove her crazy. And she had her own bathroom and everything, but she was still there where they were watching over her. Okay. It didn't mean that her driving privileges were gone. It didn't mean that she couldn't come and go as she pleased. It just was an avenue to help mom out because the big farmhouse was no longer a viable option for them to keep up. The bathroom was upstairs, the bedroom was upstairs, so they eradicated the issue of having to do stairs and things like that. The family meals were a great thing because it gave grandma something to do. She helped peel potatoes. She helped make desserts and things like that. I'm sure the family benefited just as much as grandma did from this. And it also, it just, there's a sense of peace and that everybody's taken care of. Okay. And yet when you need your space, it's like, there's grandma's apartment. For others who maybe don't have the luxury of having that option, senior rehoming offers the option for you to realistically consider that you can't live on your own anymore. Some of the hoarding situations we fall into end up being from a lack of senior rehoming at an earlier time. The hard part about senior rehoming is dealing with the inevitable, okay? None of us are going to be here forever. So it is accepting that you can no longer take care of your home like you used to. It's accepting that you don't need all of that stuff like you used to, and it's parting with it. And in some of the speeches that I've given to different groups or organizations, it has been you have all of that old china in your house. You have all the old linens. You have, the little knickknacks here and there. It's time to give them to someone in your family who either gave them to you once upon a time and give it back to them so they can enjoy it, or it's time to just say goodbye. I'm sorry to tell you that modern families do not have the need for the china that we used to have. We had, you would have great grandma on this side of the family's china and her mom's, and then great grandma on this side of the family and her mom's and her mom. And it takes a lot of space. And the other thing is, if you don't use it, you have no memory affiliation for the younger generation. Okay, just because it came over on the Mayflower with great grandma doesn't mean it means anything to the 20-year-old granddaughter today who's living in a home that she wants to be a minimalist because she has other things she wants to do in her life. So my advice is, if you're in your senior years, that you have very candid conversations with your family about who wants what. And at Christmas and Thanksgiving is a good time for them to take home what they want and to start paring down what you really don't need anymore and placing it into the hands of someone who really does want it and has the story behind it or the memory with it. So senior rehoming can be a very gratifying thing because you're not just getting rid of your things or your stuff, you're passing it on to someone with the story behind it while you still have the ability to do that. Because while you're completely with it, you have the choice to put it where you want it to go. So in a nutshell, that would be my advice.
That's great advice. I love that.
It's not simple. And
Right.
sometimes I go out on consultations with seniors and I tell them, I say it like it is, because I don't want them to be enamored with, like, their kids are going to want this, and if your kid wants it, give it to them. Give it to them while you have the ability to give it to them and
Right.
find out. And if you have, I don't care if you break up sets of, let's say that you have a 6-piece place setting of grandma's And you know, and it means everything to you. And you have 6 granddaughters. Give every single one of them a place setting with the
Right,
story, so they
right.
know. And then they all know everybody else who has it, so that, okay, let's say it's 2 sisters and one says, oh, you know, I really don't have room for this. She can give it to the other one, and now she's got a 2-piece place setting. So that it's the main thing is, if you want something to stay in your family, you have to make those decisions now.
Mhm. Well, it'd be nice too if they could get together. So like, hey, let's have grandma's tea. Everyone bring your set and
Yes,
we'll have a little tea
yes,
and, make grandma's coffee cake and then everyone brings their place setting and
yes,
then they take it home with them and then it's done.
exactly,
So that
exactly.
that would be kind of a little fun
You
tea
know,
to have.
there was one grandma who had a whole bunch of the China dolls, and they were in all the frilly dresses and the period pieces and everything.
Right,
Not a single kid from her family wanted them.
right.
Okay. So my advice to her was sell them. Sell them and use the money to, take a little trip or something like that.
Mhm.
A lot of those things, you have to remember too, that just because you bought a collector piece doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth you know, what the store who sold it for
Right,
years ago
right,
thought it was going to be worth, you know.
right. Well, Connie, I wanted to thank you. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. I will let everyone know that we do have our next Healthy Living Together will be Healthy Holiday Meals, and that will be presented by Mary Gilbert from MSU Extension on November 20th. We will be getting a new Healthy Living Together schedule, so just go ahead and look for that on our website. And I really do appreciate you being with us again. It's always a pleasure, and we hope that you have a great day.
Well, thank you too. And I wish everyone a wonderful fall. The colors are absolutely beautiful. And thank you for having me. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. You have a great day now.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.